Hey guys, my name is Oshun the Great, and welcome to my beautiful channel. Here again is another Let's Talk, or basically a free talk of me talking about important subjects that I kind of ponder on from day-to-day basis. So me being a wanderer lately, I've been living kind of like the poorest of the poor, to be honest. But I've lived many walks of life except being rich yet. And I noticed how in each walk of life, maybe not even living middle class, but I've been in situations where I stayed with friends who were like middle class or things such as that nature. Being in different walks of life or observing different walks of life, I just noticed a lot of things in how people treat one another in every walk of life. And in America especially, classism is really prevalent, meaning a lot of people, even though they complain about, let's say middle class or lower class complains about people who are rich, for example, not helping the economy or helping them on the bottom, some people still want this to be put in effect because it makes them look good, it makes them look better. So the middle class isn't really, concerned about the poor. They're just probably concerned about being a little bit more wealthy or being in the shoes of the rich. And honestly, I've met a lot of people who thrive off of this status. They think status will make them happy, or they thrive off of these classes existing. And obviously the higher 1% thrives off of classism existing, because what other way can they tell you, the higher ups tell you, that money isn't really anything, it's just paper. But they prove to us, or they tell us money is everything, and one way that they do that is by maintaining classism. So your worth is equal to what you own or what you make. Now if you are smart, if you're awake, if you woke, you know that this is the opposite. You know that your worth is constant. It doesn't matter what you have, what you get, or what you obtain, especially if your life is very, that life is full of cycles. Everything is about up and down cycles. Everything that I've gained, I've lost over and over again. And it's a continuing process of losing, gaining, losing, and gaining. Now some people, they are privileged enough to maintain wealth. Even if they lose a little, they're still going to be rich. But yeah, so living in the poverty aspect, or I guess not being, there's, even if you're not really poor, you could tell blatantly that you're just beneath the middle class. So I feel like I've been treading that kind of lane for majority of my life. And living in that aspect, I still notice how privileged I am, because living in a shelter recently, I noticed how we treat homeless people is really, really bad as far as morals. Either they don't exist, or no one really cares. They are treated with the lowest of the low, or with the shittiest of things. And really, I always say people sleep on homeless people. They aren't dumb, they aren't stupid. A lot of them are aware and woke too, but they don't like how the Matrix has chosen to set up structures so that certain people fail, certain people succeed, and that your worth is basically what everyone thinks it should be, or based on status. So I have met some of the most humble, and I felt the most togetherness, if that makes sense, in homeless shelters and around homeless people, which blew my mind. And being the lowest of the low, I felt the most at peace, because when you are somewhere on top, you are constantly sometimes struggling day to day and trying to make sure you don't end up like the people on bottom. Like, a lot of times I like to say the homeless people are examples for society sets for us, that you will end up this way if you don't do what we want. So we take our ass to work every day, even though we don't fuck with it, we don't like it, our bosses are assholes, and everything is about it is more morally and ethical. So we won't end up like them, or the outcast, or the starving artist, or whatever the case may be. So they make it look really bad, and that's why I feel like that some homeless people are deprived of certain resources, or they are stuck in that cycle, honestly. Meaning they are told millions of times that people will help them, but they don't. It's been years, and they still haven't got housing, certain things of that nature. So it's a lot of that shit going on at the bottom. Now, you will be silly to think that the hierarchies, or the government, or society doesn't know what's going on. They know everything. I know it sounds very conspiracy theory, but obviously, because they set everything in place because it works for them. Now, With that being said, you just have to choose what you want to use the matrix for. And it's not up to anyone else to tell you how to live your life or how to go about it. It's all for you to know the truth, and then what you choose to do with it. So again, knowing that money is really not everything, knowing that they gave you a grocery store and taught you not to farm for yourself, and I'm speaking generally right now. So you have to learn all these things about this. But basically this is just me touching on classism and what I feel about it. I just know it's about power. Like, it's all about power. And to me, it's upsetting that a lot of people think that this is the end-all be-all about your status, when no, it's not really. You hear about the people who commit suicide all the time based on status, and they have everything. And I have people who are jealous of me, and I have nothing, and it still blows my mind. So it's not about things or class. A lot of times it's about what makes you happy, your passions, what you can do to survive off those passions. If you want to check out learning how to do that, if you want to be free, learning how to do that, or if you want to navigate in the matrix, that's all up to you. But yeah, that's my little input though on classism. I just noticed that everyone gets a big head or a big ego on it lately. And I was just thinking why it exists. It exists to keep this crazy hierarchy in control. And honestly, it's not, as long as they are in control, it's not going away anytime soon. Even though it's ideal, a lot of us want to have no classes whatsoever. And it is kind of cool to think of what kind of society would exist if we didn't have any classes. But this is the world we live in. But we have to learn how to deal with it. And not to say that everyone who has money is bad, obviously, because the more money you have, the better, the more you can help people with it. So my goal is to be rich one day, and that's because you can expand that way, you can travel that way, you can be free that way, and that's the society that we pretty much operate from. So I'm not saying if you're poor, stay poor. Obviously, you have to learn how to break those cycles, break out of that, try to work your way around that in itself. But yeah, so that's my little input. Be dope, be unapologetically. Peace.